Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about my passport, my bank account, and President Volodymyr Zelensky's request to me as a citizen of the world. All right, so I woke up this morning and got ready for church, right? So I'm brushing my teeth, and when I brush my teeth and I shave and get ready for the day, I have the New York Times as an app, and so I'll go in there and I'll copy the text and I'll dump it into a little app called Talk, and then it reads to me while I groom myself, right? So New York Times is saying, hey, President Volodymyr Zelensky just made a request to the citizens of the world, and he said, you come here, doesn't matter what nation you're from, right? And we will put an AR in hand in your, you come here to help us fight, right? So if you, and I was like, wait, what, right? And so essentially what he's saying is, doesn't matter what nation you're from, you come here, we put an AR in your hand, you're on the field next day. It's that simple, right? Now, I'm like, wait, what? Why on earth? That's not how armies are formed, right? You don't just put up an open invitation for people to come into your country and fight for you, right? But I think it is now, and the reason why is Volodymyr Zelensky. He's like, okay, so the greatest enemy of humanity is on my doorstep. He's in my nation right now. Volodymyr Putin. He's putting his troops in my nation right now. I have told the world, hey, take a look at what's happening. Like, you see, we're under attack, right? And the whole world has said, hey, we see that Volodymyr, the greatest enemy to humanity, is right there giving you more trouble than we've seen in a long time anywhere, right? And he's just villaining it up, right? And our response to that is, we assure you, we are going to give Volodymyr Putin an itchy sweater. Check these sanctions out, right? And, Zelensky's like, oh, thank God, sanctions, whoo, boy, you're going to shut them down when they can't sell their gas, their oil and their natural gas, their greatest resources. You really stuck it to them. And the rest of the world's like, no, not real sanctions. Like, you're right. It is an itchy sweater, right? But we're going to give a palliative balm to Vladimir Putin to make sure that his most valuable assets are not included in the sanctions. And Zelensky's like, what? I need real help, right? And they're like, we told you. We did these toothless sanctions that actually will, wait, I guess the sanctions might actually raise the value of his greatest assets? Yeah, I could see where that doesn't look like a lot of help, President Zelensky. And so Zelensky's like, the nations of the world are not going to help me. Can I talk to the citizens of the world? Can I appeal to real people who can really help and are willing and capable, right? And so he invited, I've never seen this before in my life. He invited the global soldier. He is creating the global soldier. The soldier who will say, I am willing and capable to fight, right? And guess what? There are already people responding, right? Americans. So there is a 26-year-old, the New York Times covered this, a 26-year-old New York City carpenter who's packing up, right? And he is headed to Ukraine, right? So, and that's what it said in the New York Times. And I was like, wait a second. There ain't nothing on this planet that a 26-year-old New York City carpenter can do that J. Scott Garibay, a 52-year-old Philadelphia suburbs dad can't do. I could do that, right? So I finished brushing my teeth and I skipped shaving, right? And I ran right downstairs. And my beautiful wife is there on the stove, cooking eggs and sausage. And I was like, hey, you got a minute? And she's like, yeah, what's up? And I was like, I've been playing Fortnite, right? And I have learned the range differences for the P, the AR, the SP, the SMG, right? The RL, the GL, right? That I know what a crouching advance is. That I know how to, because she watches me. She's watched me play Fortnite many times. I have 4 victory royales, right? That's where you defeat 99 other players, right? So I was like, hey, I know how to identify tactical cover, and how I know how to take advantage of an opponent who's been putting themselves in a tactically disadvantageous position. All right? You're aware of this. You also know that I have forged myself into a specimen of humanity by riding my bicycle on the weekends in Philadelphia and making the right nutritional choices of only drinking diet sodas, never full sugar, right? Pretty much forged myself into specimen of humanity, right? And I was like, President Volodymyr Zelensky is asking anybody who's willing to come fight. You know what you need to do that? You need the money to fly to Eastern Europe. You need the wherewithal, and you also need a passport to get into Eastern Europe, right? To get into the EU, right? And you also you need the money to fly there. You need your passport, and you need the willingness to walk across, enemy lines and join the fight, right? And I was like, I got all three of those, so I want to go to Ukraine, right? And my wife, like, first of all, there was about 15 seconds where she didn't say a thing, right? Then she started talking, right? And I'm not even sure all the things she said, because I was waiting to hear a yes, and I was pretty sure after after I told her all the reasons why this made sense, and also I told her, hey, this just isn't for me, this is for the world, right? So Zelensky's been doing a good job of fighting, but when I show up, right, you know me, wife, right? You've seen what I do with a group of people. I can come in, I can encourage everybody there, I can look at the situation, I can identify an innovative solution, and then I work hard to make that innovative solution a reality. If I get over there in Ukraine, the moment I walk over that war zone line, that whole situation be done in 7 days. That aids the world, right? So I told her, the scope of it, why I should be there, right? So I told her, how I was fit to be there, what would happen if I got there, and what it was going to cost, right? And so she says a whole bunch of words, right? And I didn't really catch them all because I thought this was going to be a short conversation. She'd be like, yes, I'll order the tickets. Lan usually does she does my online stuff, right? So I thought it'd be that quick, right? Like, it's a great idea, right? Totally makes total sense, right? That was not the case. She said a whole bunch of words. I didn't catch them all, right? And, it seemed like she wasn't convinced that Fortnite Battle Knowledge would transition directly onto IRL. I don't know why she's thinking that. That game is extremely well crafted. It really does look like it's a good encapsulation of what kinetic activity looks like, right? And she also wasn't convinced that me being on the ground would end the situation in 7 days, right? So she didn't seem convinced of any of it, right? And the one thing I did hear, because I do listen to my wife, not as attentively as I should. Sometimes I have a bad habit of waiting for my turn to convince again rather than hearing a person fully, right? But I did hear this fully. She said, absolutely not, right? I heard those words, right? And I'm smart, right? And I caught it. I was like, wait a second. So immediately, right, my wife's looking at me, right? And she says, absolutely not. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm a grown $$ man. I don't need my wife's permission to do anything, right? And, and then so I get ready to say my, piece, right? And unfortunately, my wife is incredibly beautiful. It's why I married her, right? And I'm sitting there, just looking at her beautiful face. And I remember that 30 years ago, on December 21st, 1991, in Springfield, Pennsylvania, I made a vow. And I vowed that her needs and her desires and her preferences would be my first concern until the day I died. And that no sacrifice would be too great for me to make for her, right? So I, unfortunately, am not going to Ukraine, not because my wife said no, but because I made a vow to the most beautiful woman I had ever met 30 years ago, right? And that's a good reason not to go. It disappoints me because I do think everything I just said is correct. I think I'm capable, fit, ready, and I could shut that whole thing down in about 7 days after I was, there, right? But I made a vow, and we live by vows. Vows are important, right? So I am really incredibly impressed with that 26-year-old New York carpenter, right? And the reason why is, there's a 26-year-old New York carpenter who is going to be useful to President Volodymyr Zelensky, right? He's actually going to give real help, the help that President Volodymyr Zelensky has begged for, and the help that he needs, right? And here's the kicker. This is where it all lands, right? In Kansas City, there is a U.S. Army private second class. That U.S. Army private second class is willing to go. I'm convinced that, is willing to fight bald-faced villainy wherever it occurs in the world, right? I don't think that the vast majority, that the U.S. Army private second classes of America are not willing to fight. I think the willingness to fight is there, right? But they're not capable. Well, wait, why is the U.S. Army private second class not capable of fighting? They absolutely have the equipment. They have the training. And the equipment and the training that they have are 100 times better than sending a 26-year-old New York carpenter. 100 times, right? But they're not capable. And the reason why is they do not have the permission of their commander-in-chief, which means that all their capability is for naught. And they have no ability to actually aid Volodymyr Zelensky. And the willingness of a 26-year-old New York carpenter and his capability, which is probably some Fortnite games and maybe having had used a nail gun at some point in his life, right, make him more capable than a U.S. Army, more capable right now, right? Because his capability isn't at 0. It on a scale of 100, it might be 7, right? But that U.S. Army private first class, their capability is 0. They cannot act without the permission of President Joe Biden. That 26-year-old New York carpenter doesn't need the permission of President Biden, which means that his willingness and his capability join in unison to make him useful not only to President Volodymyr Zelensky, but to the whole world, to you and me. Because when bald-faced villainy is met with an itchy sweater and palliative balms to make sure that the itch isn't a problem, right? Then we live in a world where a 26-year-old New York carpenter is the greatest fighter in the U.S., right? Like, it's incredible. How do we get here? How do we get here? We get here because of choices. There are powerful men in position right now. They make choices and they affect the world. And the choices that have been made has made it so that a 26-year-old New York carpenter is the greatest hero America has right now, because his willingness and his capability are combined, right? Whereas we have incredible soldiers, courageous, noble soldiers whose capability has been set to 0 by President Joe Biden. That's where we live, right? What do you think? What do you think of the rise of the global soldier? This is unprecedented. I keep telling you, this is not another Tuesday at the global confrontation table. This is unique. There has never been anything that's happened in any of our lifetimes that look like this, right? That are putting young men and young women on notice now. Get ready. You don't need military experience to be a fighter to fight humanity's greatest enemies, right? And that what you're learning in Fortnite could actually be quite useful, right? Like, it's pretty incredible. Like, we are truly in the upside down world. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear your ideas, your opinions, your comments in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.